What a disappointing opening game in the series there between the Wolves and the Warriors last night, boys. Let's jump right into it. Let's get our reactions. I'll ask what we learned from game one and what needs to be improved. Obviously, shooting is number one, so we'll take that off the table. But Nolan, your not immediate, but your reactions to the Wolves, I guess, kind of getting blown out at home. I mean, they were down by 20 at certain points in that game. It did not feel close at all.
Yeah, it didn't really ever feel particularly close, and anytime like it kind of got there, like late in the fourth quarter, Buddy Hield hits a three, Gary Payton hits a three, and there's really kind of no momentum there. I mean, the immediate reaction is they were not good. They didn't play well. They didn't play well offensively in particular. The ball didn't move well. They couldn't shoot. They couldn't finish really. It was just a really all around bad game. I think they got out rebounded by a team that's much smaller than them. Jimmy Butler, I think, had seven offensive rebounds. So it was just like a lot of little things that it felt like they really didn't do well. And so I think they kind of had that mindset after the game of it's like this is really like on a game on us. Like we screwed this up. We didn't play well, and we just need to play better than we did. And I think too, it's like if you look with Steph, depending on what happens there. Um, if he's healthy and playing and finishes out that game, it's one thing you look at it. It's like, oh, this could be kind of dangerous now. But if he misses any kind of time, it's going to be really hard for the Warriors to kind of replicate what they did. They were up 10 when Steph went down in the second quarter and were able to kind of just keep that momentum going. But without Steph, I don't really see a way that they're going to be able to win another three games against the Wolves. So I wouldn't overreact too much to the game one loss, but it was certainly not a pretty one to watch. And that was definitely not good basketball at the Target Center court last night.
Joe, what happened in this one? It felt like the Wolves kind of carried over their shooting performance from the win against the Lakers, and they just never were able to get the momentum that they at least had down low in that game.
Yeah, this is like when the teenager thinks he can beat up his dad, right? Like you get to that point and then you get the wake up call that you can't, you're not quite there yet. So it was a maturity thing for me. I think Jimmy Butler and Steph and Buddy Hield and Draymond Green, all these guys have been there and done that. Even in the face of these raucous, loud, roaring boos and the crude stuff that fans were allegedly saying to Jimmy Butler throughout the game, they stood tall. They stood firm. They held serve on that. I mean, they threw the punch to start the second quarter, got that 10-point lead. Steph goes out, and then they just built the lead, which is unbelievable. And we can obviously point to all the reasons like poor shooting, poor rebounding, turnovers. But at the end of the day, one team was more mature and ready for the moment, and the other wasn't. And that's an indictment on Anthony Edwards, which Chris Finch called him out, and I expect Ant to come back, breathing fire in game 2 Thursday night. But Dante DiVincenzo, Nikhil Alexander Walker, Julius Randle was a no-show. I called it the three scars of the game. Those three guys were just brutal. I mean, Randall with 3 rebounds in 30 minutes, and he's taller than every player in the starting lineup for the Warriors. This was just a lack of emotional maturity in a big moment, and I think they're capable of correcting that and getting back on track. But if they don't, we know that the Warriors they're not gonna slinky down the stairs and crumble to their death. These guys are tested, man. They're ready for it. They want it. They train for it. So, one team is going to show up. We know that. Will the Wolves match it and overpower them? They're capable of it, but they got to prove it.
Tony, what did you learn from game one of this series, a 99-88 win for the Warriors at Target Center last night?
Yeah, I think I learned that this team does best as the underdog. I think they kind of were just looking at their press clippings a little bit. It's almost like they did beat up their dad in the first round, but now they think they can just do it whenever they want. But the dad's still kind of hard to beat up. So I think they need to get back to that underdog mentality, make it seem like everyone's doubting them, and they need to just like motivate themselves. They just weren't ready for this game at all, which is baffling with the amount of storylines and reason for motivation. They just didn't really seem interested, and I think it's a good thing that Finch did call out Anthony Edwards because he was just flat out bad, and there just really wasn't many good performances all over the roster. So it's one of those games they just have to burn the film, move on, pretend it didn't happen, and get back to what they were doing really the last 2 months of the season. So I fully expect them to respond well, but it was just a baffling game in all of the aspects. They just look completely lost. They look like a team that shouldn't even be in the playoffs, and they just need to pretend it didn't happen.
Joe, I know the last video we recorded on Monday previewing this series, you and I, we were both Wolves in 5. Everybody else was, I believe, Wolves in 6 or Wolves in 7. Did that performance at Target Center on Tuesday night change your opinion or expectations for this series?
Yeah, I mean instantly, and it's not just because the Warriors won, and you could easily sit here and reason and convince yourself that because Steph is hurt and may not play the rest of the series potentially, the Minnesota could still win in 5 games, right? Just sweep the next 4. But the way Golden State defended and the way they made Minnesota uncomfortable, that's not going to go away. They can still do that. Mike Conley said it really well after the game. This is not a team like the Lakers that you can just win ISO basketball. You're not going to get those opportunities because they're going to switch, they're going to collapse, they're going to make it really hard on you. You have to move the ball. So we're going to have to see some sort of Greg Popovich inspired version of the beautiful game like the Spurs used to play for this team to really excel offensively. Again, maybe I'm overthinking that, and this is just a matter of shots falling. And if it is, then Minnesota may very well roll over the next 4 games and get back on track. But you got to be worried about it. You got out rebounded. You were out of position. Everybody on the floor had a really, really ugly game number 1. And like I said, these Warriors, they're going to come back. They're going to be well coached. They're going to have a plan. And that's dangerous. That's dangerous against a team that thinks it is the cat's ass. But they might get smacked here by a bigger cat or whatever you want to call it in this situation. So I would be, I'm definitely worried. I was listening to the Draymond Green show with Baron Davis, and Baron was like, Minnesota has a tendency to play like this, up and down and up and down. They're not just like steady, foot on the throat kind of stuff. So that's room for Golden State to take advantage of errors. And Golden State is a very steady team. They don't have these waves
Right.
of highs and lows. So if Minnesota cannot figure it out, this thing definitely, like Baron Davis said, could go 7, and that's scary. The good news is that Minnesota still has an opportunity to steal back home court advantage, and that could be absolutely huge if this thing goes the distance.
Tony, I know when we talked on Monday, one of the points of conversation and why we were feeling a little bit confident about this series was the fact that the Wolves had so much rest and the Warriors were coming off a brutal 7-game series just less than 48 hours before this game started on Tuesday night. Well, now the Wolves have lost that advantage clearly by losing game 1 of the series. How concerned are you for the rest of the series going forward?
Yeah, I'm trying not to overreact from game 1 because I do think there were a lot of things that just aren't going to happen the rest of the series. The Wolves just aren't going to shoot that poorly from 3. It just statistically that doesn't happen. And I'm confident in betting on some positive shooting regression back to the mean a little bit. And with that being said, there's still a lot of the defensive things like Joe mentioned that are not going to go away. But I still am sticking firm to my Wolves in 6. I think they're going to respond well in game 2, win that one, and then if they're able to win 1, if not 2, on the road, the momentum's back in their favor, and I think that's entirely possible with this team. And obviously, it's how they come out in game 2, but it just that was such an anomaly of a basketball game. I think that it's important to not overreact totally to what we saw.
Nolan, what's your concern level going into game 2 Thursday night? And how much does the Steph Curry of this all? I mean, we saw him leave in the second quarter and not come back. That's hanging out over this whole series. How much does that change how this series will go down?
Yeah, I think it changes a lot. I would say the concern level is not that much, regardless of the Steph situation. But if he does have to miss time, I mean, that makes a huge difference. Then all of a sudden, Jaden McDaniels is available to throw on Jimmy Butler, play him off the ball, whatever they want to do with him defensively.
Good point.
It really changes a lot, and it's going to make that really tough. And Golden State struggled to score too. For as bad as the Wolves were offensively, Golden State wasn't pulling away early. It was a 2018 Wolves lead after the first quarter. They weren't shooting particularly well. Without Steph to kind of spread the floor for them, everything's going to be a lot tighter offensively too. And I know it just didn't quite happen the way last night with the Wolves, but they're a good defensive team, and there was some times where they got lost, for sure. But I think if that ends up happening and Curry's out of the game, then it's gonna be a big difference, and it's gonna allow the Wolves to do a lot of different things. Do a lot of different things defensively too that they wouldn't be able to do when you have to have Jaden chasing around Curry.
Yeah. Final question for you guys on this one. What's your expectations for game 2 and I guess the rest of the series? What's changed for you going forward? Joe, I'll start with you, then Tony, then Nolan.
Well, I still think Minnesota takes this series, and the Steph injury is critical. In the first quarter, the Wolves got down a little bit, but then they ended up leading like 20-18 or 20-16 after the first 12 minutes of action. And I'm sitting there thinking and typing in our Slack channel that the Wolves are going to win this thing by 15. They just look superior defensively. They looked like they were dominating the glass. And as long as the shots fell, and as long as Golden State didn't hit 20-25 threes, I thought they were going to roll. It didn't happen. The shots never started to fall. But like Tony said, there's going to be a forward positive momentum. You cannot shoot 15% from three for longer than 2 games. That's almost impossible. This is crazy what we're actually witnessing right now. So I think the Wolves get it back on track, and I just think they're too talented, and they are well coached. And I think they got their wake-up call, and now they're going to start to handle business.
Tony?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I think people just overcomplicate basketball, and it really just comes down to hitting shots. And when you watch the start of that game, it just all the other stuff the Wolves were doing very well, and the shots just weren't falling. So, it sounds pretty ridiculous, but if the shots start falling, I think the Wolves are going to win the series, and I expect them to in Game 2. And if they can regain the momentum and have it be a snowball effect into heading on the road to San Francisco, I think they can regain momentum in this series.
Nolan?
Yeah, I definitely expect a motivated Anthony Edwards after Finch kind of called him out last night. I think he'll come back, bounce back really strong. I think they might do a little more attacking, and it's just going to come down to making those shots. There's going to be a lot of open shots and opportunity for them. Golden State really packs the paint. So if Ant and Julius are going to be driving and they're going to keep doing that, there's going to be open looks, and it's just going to be a matter of them falling, and they will eventually. And I think the Wolves kind of come back here and shoot better and bounce back in game 2.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Plenty of reaction over on Timberwolves on SI. Go read all of our work over there, as well as Vikings, Twins, and Gophers on SI as well, covering it all for you. Be sure to hit subscribe to the YouTube channel. It does help us get found, notifies you every time we post a new video here to the channel. We'll talk to you tomorrow with another topic across Minnesota sports. Talk to you then.